Hey guys, Golga here. Hope you're all doing well. Today I just wanted to kind of talk about the current state of AvA Global. For those of you that aren't aware, this is the third iteration of this game since it was originally released in 2010, published by EG with the developer Red Duck Studios, which is now defunct. I've just got some gameplay playing in the background right now of the MP7, famous MP7 right now that's currently bugged or just imbalanced. I have no idea what they did to this thing. Personally, I think they actually copied over the stats from the Bahamut capsule gun into this base version of the MP7 because it's just crazy right now. I mean, the stuff it's doing, it makes F2 pretty much not viable for anything below 15 meters. But yeah, let's just kind of get into this here. Basically, I'm an old EG player. I've been playing since the original closed beta. I think it was back in like 2010, 2009, something like that. I've done, CGL and ESL tournaments for the game. I don't consider myself a pro player, not by any means. I just have over 5,000 hours in the game, so I'm pretty vested in the game. I had a lot of fun with it when I was younger, and when I think about my gaming memories, I really do think about AvA. So it's kind of sad to come back with all these guys in my friend group that I've known now for over 10 years and seeing the current state of this game. It's just kind of depressing. So really just I have some key points and takeaways here that from what I've personally experienced in AvA Global. I think the major concern right now is that right now for what the game is, the foundation just isn't stable. So this game originally released, like I said, back in 2010, and it was mainly, one of those Eastern Korean FPS games, free to play, that come over here, similar to like your Combat Arms and your Soldier Fronts and your Crossfires. So when the game first came out, there wasn't very many pay-to-win elements, but slowly over time, after EG transitioned into NMAS and area games, more pay-to-win elements were introduced, such as cap guns, the Wheel of Fortune, and all these crazy power creeps, where now you've got guns that are now obsolete because you didn't spend $100 on a skin that has +5 damage. So really, AvA Global, what it is to its core, is the original AvA experience circa, I want to say maybe like 2018 as far as what's in the game files, which are about 20 gigs right now. You can go check them out. I mean, they have all the guns, the modes, the maps, everything is listed in the game files. Yet we only have access to about 10% of that content right now during the release. We have 3 game modes and about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 maps, if that. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a good experience right now. We peaked when it first came out at about 15,000 concurrent players on Steam via the Steam charts. Now we average about 1 to 2,000 players on a good day. The majority of that is going to be the Asian market. And a lot of the games I'm sure you guys are in right now, you're seeing, if you're NA or EU, pings over 250, stuff like that. So back to the original point here is that this game originally came out and it was a pay-to-win model, right? So you've got a lot of cap guns and things in the game that are meant to take your mom's wallet and spend money. Well, they made the right decision here when they originally announced this game a couple years back, is they were going to remove the pay-to-win elements, which I agree with. I think that that's obviously the right choice, especially in this day and age where a lot of the competitive shooters like CSGO don't have any pay-to-win elements for the most part. The problem is if you take a game that's been in development for over 10 years and its entire core is pay-to-win, if you remove those pay-to-win elements, you kind of break the very foundation of what remains. Perfect example of this, right, is the issue with weapon stats. A lot of the weapons that are being introduced into this game are having to compete or be reduced or changed from the original pay-to-win stats on the weapons to whatever they're going to be now. So there's a lot of balancing problems with that. Prime example, as you're seeing now on the screen, the MP7. Is it balanced? No. How do we fix it? I have a few ideas we'll get to in a bit. But right now, the major concern, I think, is player base. Lack of communication from NeoWiz has caused a lot of the old guys, as I call them, the EG guys that have played this game for years, to just kind of F off. They just aren't interested anymore. I mean, we have 8v8s right now, that's about it. We have 10% of what this game originally had at launch, but it's all there in the files, which is just crazy to me. So basically, the foundation being unstable in the game, you've got 15-year-old netcode that's just spaghettied around. It's going to take a lot of dev time and coding time to get that kind of corrected. And so I feel like the biggest takeaway from just that introduction is we need to be patient. We need to understand what this is in its current state. and that is an unfinished game that has unfortunately been around for a long time now, and it just hasn't been perfected yet. Hopefully this iteration gets a bit better, but right now, let's just dive into these key points and problems that I'm seeing from the game. Now, I'm going to start by saying that I'm a bit biased. A lot of times when I play these FPS games, I get very competitive, like CS:GO, stuff like that. I enjoy the demolition, search and destroy style 5v5 game modes, and I understand that this game has a lot more to offer. They've got the zombie mode, which we don't have. They've got escort, which works sometimes if the tank doesn't glitch out. You've got the PvE game modes like the prison break and prison escape and all that stuff, which also isn't in the game yet. So I understand there is a player base, a majority of the player base that is kind of split on whether they prefer PvE or PvP. Me specifically, again, I prefer the competitive side of things, so I'm going to kind of discuss my takeaways on that. And just to boil it down, this game is not that. I really don't think in its current state this game could ever be that. Mainly because it is, a 10-year-old plus game, and it's not 2010 anymore. The things that make a game competitive and the things that players need a game to have in order for it to be competitive, the infrastructure just is not here in this game. A perfect example of this would be your low tick rate servers. There's ping issues right now where anybody with a higher ping can peek a corner, and they have something called peeker's advantage, which means if you're a scope holding an angle, they can basically run around the corner, and before you can even register on your screen that they've done so, they can just shoot you in the head and kill you. That's a huge issue right now. And I've really never experienced, if I'm being honest, like blatant issues in the original game with hit registration. I know a lot of people like to complain and be like, oh, I shot that guy, it didn't register. Generally speaking, I really didn't notice that myself much at all. However, in this version of the game, I notice it quite a bit. With weapons like the FRF2, if I'm firing at somebody that has like over 150 ping, I'll see the blood splatter. It'll definitely hit them, but on your kill cam or your death feed, it won't show that you've done any damage to them. So that's definitely a problem. Apart from that, again, we don't really have any tools right now to make this game competitive. We don't have any practice lobbies. We can't do custom games to go into to do strats. Just basic things like that. Having your only game mode for demo be an 8v8 really turns into a clusterfuck. And you couple that with the fact that the MP7 is absolutely broken right now, and the meta right now is everybody just run MP7 and rush, or sit back with a sniper rifle and base in camp. There's just no fun middle ground. The core of this game is the class system, right? So the whole thing with that is you have your pointman, your rifleman, and your sniper. And each of these classes is supposed to be, pros and cons, good at different ranges and situations. Pointman are your stealthy, sneak from behind, flanking, role where it's, get in, get out, SMG, shotgun, stuff like that. So it's more close range. And you've got your middle of the ground rifleman, which can pretty much do anything at any range, but it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife. It's not as good as a sniper, but it can still do damage with like the para or the M14 at long range, and it can do pretty okay at short range, but not as good as a pointman. Then you've got the sniper, which right now is, in a weird place where the FRF2 is king because you can kill somebody if you shoot them in the foot because they've effed up the damage model on the multiplier for damage. Just crazy stuff like that, right? Anyway, the point is, right now, the MP7 is so broken that anything below 15 meters of engagement, it's great for. And for the sniper rifles, anything, above 20 meters of range, it's great for, which leaves the riflemen in a situation where they're not viable for anything. I mean, realistically, you've got the para, right, which used to be a one-tap god. It was similar to the AK-47 in CS:GO, and it was perfect. It was high-risk, high-reward gameplay, meaning that with the para, now it's called the cannon, you could aim for head, be methodical about you taking your shots, lining up your shots, all that good stuff, and if you had the aim and you could click on heads, you'd be rewarded. But now, because they've implemented the baseline armor, I think it's like SA-15 or 16, whatever it is, the cannon doesn't one-hit consistently now. And that's a problem, because the whole point of that gun is if you can master the recoil of it and the spray patterns, and you can tap and you learn how to tap, you should be rewarded for that level of skill. You should be able to get those kills. It sets that weapon apart from others like the M4 or, in this experience, an MP7. And right now, it's just not the case. There's really no weapon in the Rifleman's Toolkit that does anything that an MP7 can't do. I mean, the armor penetration on the MP7 right now is insane. The devs have already said that the burst mods are bugged. I mean, I think it's the grip gives you like plus 1.5 burst fire, which is just insane. And you can just like click and hold and spray with the MP7 right now, and you pretty much don't have any recoil. You just aim for the head, and the rate of fire is so fast, you're pretty much guaranteed a headshot. I mean, you can consistently headshot with this thing at 15 meters just by like a zero point 0.5 millisecond spray. It's crazy. It's broken. It needs to be fixed. And the fact that it has been, it's gone this long without any direct communication from the devs that they're even aware of this being an issue or that we're even complaining about this is insane to me. I mean, any game you go into right now, it's MP7, FRF2, and AK-47. That is the meta right now. And you couple in the aim punch mechanics with that, which is basically a lottery machine of random chance of your shots making the other person, their reticles basically just fire in a different direction. It's just crazy. I mean, I saw Snow Shovel had a clip where he got shot with aim punch and his cursor went to like 90 degrees to the left, and it's random. You can't control that. So if you have an MP7 that has like an insane rate of fire and every single one of those shots it registers is going to aim punch you, how do you counteract that? You can't. So in a meta where the MP7 is king, what's the purpose of the F2, the rifleman class? I don't think there is one right now. And that's another problem where the roles for these classes are not very well defined. There's no clear and concise pros and cons of running a certain weapon in a certain situation. And that's a problem. You know, what's the point of having a class system if MP7 is always the answer? So how do we fix the MP7? Because really this is about the MP7, this video specifically. I mean, it's just clearly it's a better weapon than pretty much every other point man weapon right now. The Uzi's pretty good, so is the Desmodus. But the MP7 it just performs at an insane level right now. I think the biggest problem with this clearly is the rate of fire bug, which can be fixed. They should fix that for sure. They also need to fix the damage over range. I think that the drop-off for damage over range needs to be increased, meaning that the farther away you are, the less damage this thing does. Because if I burst like 10 bullets with this thing at like 15 meters, it's pretty much a guaranteed headshot if I'm on target. And that's ridiculous. I think the armor penetration is probably okay if you fix the other two issues I just discussed. But if you're not going to touch damage over range, armor pen's got to come down and bring it in line with the other SMGs in its class. I think if you do that, and the MP7 isn't as effective in those medium range situations, it really opens up the rifleman category to kind of have people explore more with that, and maybe try out some other weapons that are similar to like a spray style weapon, kind of like an M4, as opposed to your high damage cannon and AK-47. But yeah, guys, I mean, right now, if you're interested in playing this game, I think it's worth it for the nostalgia. But you know, nostalgia can only get you so far. And just kind of take this game for what it is right now, and it's an unfinished work. And we can be patient, but as consumers, we can also, you know, we have a right to express how we feel about a product, right? It's an open market. So by all means, let's give them constructive criticism and feedback and try to get this game that we love fixed. Because at the end of the day, you know, I know we all missed those summer nights back in 2011, 2012 when we were playing this with our friends without a care in the world. And, you know, sometimes I want to get back to that point, but not if the MP7 is too OP. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for letting me ramble on a little bit. If you're new here, that's kind of what I do. But I'll see you guys in game, and Golga out.